Imagine if your latest online order took 6 weeks to arrive, cost $100 to ship, and then, contained the wrong item anyway.
Oh, I mean, you would cancel your account immediately.
Right, exactly. But when the government delivers that exact same level of service, we somehow end up just giving them more of our money.
Which is pretty wild when you think about it.
It is, and that is the massive paradox tech billionaire Jeff Bezos just pointed out in this controversial new interview. And the resulting backlash has been fierce.
Yeah, fierce is an understatement.
Truly. He completely flipped the script on taxes and government spending. He basically proposed that we cut federal income taxes to exactly 0% for the bottom half of all earners.
And that idea has just sparked massive debate everywhere. I mean, political commentators are arguing that this exposes a huge divide in how we view government efficiency.
Welcome to this deep dive. Today, we are looking at notes and a very heated video commentary that break down Bezos' controversial stance.
Right. Our mission today is really to unpack his core argument. The idea that America doesn't actually have a revenue problem, but rather a massive, undeniable competence problem.
We will look at the exact numbers, the intense reactions, and, what it all means for you. But remember, these sources present incredibly strong political viewpoints.
Absolutely. And as your guides, we aren't taking sides here.
Right, no sides. But we are going to vigorously unpack the arguments they make so you can decide for yourself.
Exactly. We just want to map out how they see the system working.
Okay, let's unpack this. To really understand the massive debate this sparked, we first need to look at exactly what Bezos is proposing for the average worker and why he claims the government can easily afford it.
Well, it starts with a statistic that seems, almost like a typo when you first read it.
Yeah, it really does.
The sources highlight that the bottom 50% of all income earners in America currently pay just 3% of the nation's total tax revenue.
Wait, literally just 3%?
Just 3%, yeah. And Bezos argues that 3% is such a small fraction of the total federal pie that the government could easily find that money elsewhere.
Without even missing a beat.
Exactly. And he highlights a really specific, everyday example to ground this. He talks about a nurse living in Queens who makes $75,000 a year.
Okay, so pretty standard middle-class income for that area.
Right. And currently, she pays over $12,000 a year in taxes. Bezos argues that giving her back that $1,000 a month provides instant, tangible relief for essentials.
Like rent or gas and groceries.
Yeah, exactly. It bypasses any slow government program and just goes straight to her bank account.
What's fascinating here is how this completely challenges typical political strategies.
It really does. Usually when politicians talk about making the system more progressive, they just mean extracting more money from the wealthy, right? Yeah. Taxing the top brackets more.
Right, that's the standard playbook.
But Bezos suggests that true progressivity actually starts by lowering the bottom rate to 0, allowing the working class to actually build their own wealth.
It's like a massive corporation forgiving a few pennies from its operating budget, but those pennies equal a month of groceries for an employee.
That's a great analogy. The corporation barely notices it, but it changes the worker's life.
But I do have to ask, if the impact on government revenue is so small, just that 3%, what exactly are the critics in these sources getting so angry about?
Well, that exact question leads us right into the ideological clash highlighted in the video commentary.
Okay.
The sources show that critics fiercely reject this tax break. They prefer instead to extract more money from billionaires. But, the video commentary brings in some really harsh mathematical realities about doing that.
Right, because the numbers they bring up are pretty staggering.
Yeah. The sources state that the top 1% already pay 40% of all tax revenue.
40%. That is a massive chunk.
It is. And the video commentator argues a hypothetical scenario here. Imagine if you seized 100% of all billionaire wealth.
Wait, like literally taking every single penny?
Every mansion, every stock, every yacht, all of it. The source points out it would only run the federal government for 1 single year under current spending.
Wow. So you completely wipe out all billionaire wealth and the government just burns through it in 12 months.
12 months, and then the money is gone.
That is insane.
And it gets worse when you look at actual proposed policies. Like a proposed 5% wealth tax would only shrink a $2 trillion deficit by 20%.
So it just brings the deficit down to $1.6 trillion.
Exactly. And the source claims achieving even that small dent would practically cripple the economy.
Because business owners would have to constantly liquidate their companies just to pay the tax.
All right, so the commentary argues that critics of Bezos don't actually want workers to keep their money. They want to route it through the government to concentrate power and fund an insatiable desire for spending.
This raises an important question, though. I mean, is the political focus on actual problem solving, or is it just about punishing wealth?
That's exactly what the video asks.
Because there's a very provocative claim from the video source that I want to bring up.
Go for it.
The suggestion that if people are exempt from paying taxes, they should basically lose their ability to vote.
Oh, right. Because they might just vote to frivolously spend other people's money.
Yeah, exactly. So how do the sources link this sort of unlimited money mindset to the government's failure to solve actual problems?
Well, this brings us directly to the core of Bezos's argument. It's not about the amount of money the government collects. It's about the severe lack of skills used to manage it.
A competence gap.
Precisely. The sources draw a sharp line between private business and government. Private businesses face limited capital and strict competition. They must operate efficiently.
Because if they don't, they go bankrupt. They have skin in the game.
Exactly. But government treats money as unlimited. At Amazon, for example, they use a method called the 5 Ws to investigate problems.
Who, what, when, where, and why, right?
Yeah. They drill down to find the root cause of a problem, and then they fix it forever.
Building a permanent solution, not just slapping a Band-Aid on it.
Right. But the sources argue politicians lack these skills. Because they fear risk and political attacks, they just stick to the failing status quo.
And they just, pick a villain to point fingers at.
Exactly. They blame greedy corporations or billionaires instead of fixing the root cause. And when government fails, they dodge accountability by claiming they just need more funding.
So they essentially reward their own incompetence with higher taxes.
Yep. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it explains the psychological and structural reasons politicians avoid the creativity required to truly solve a problem.
Here's where it gets really interesting. To show this basic management failure, Bezos uses the New York City school system. And the statistic is wild.
Oh, the spending per student.
Yes, the district spends $34,000 per student every single year.
Which is just a massive number. That's 30% more than Chicago or LA.
And 3 times more than Miami and Houston. 3 times. But without better outcome.
Right, the money gets absorbed by the bureaucracy.
And Bezos has this brutal analogy for it. He says if Amazon ran like NYC schools, your package would take 6 weeks, cost $100 to ship, and contain the wrong item.
It's harsh, but it perfectly illustrates the frustration we all feel with big bureaucracy.
It really does. But we've seen how the sources describe this mismanagement in schools. How does this alleged incompetence ripple out into the broader economy and affect your daily life?
Well, Bezos argues that government intervention, not corporate greed, is what actually drives the high cost of living.
Okay, give me an example.
Take rent, for instance. A lot of people blame companies like Airbnb for making housing so expensive.
Right, the idea that short-term rentals cause a shortage.
Exactly. But Bezos notes that despite New York City practically banning Airbnb, rent remains astronomically high. It didn't drop.
So it mathematically couldn't have been just the tech companies causing the issue.
Right. The sources argue it's heavy-handed zoning laws and regulations that stifle new housing.
And the video commentary highlights something else, too. New York City spends $90,000 per year per homeless person.
$90,000. You could rent a luxury apartment for that.
Exactly. Yet that the homeless population just keeps growing. We've also spent over $1 trillion on the Department of Education over the decades, with poor results.
The video points out a really sweeping conclusion from all of this, that a vast, centrally planned bureaucracy is practically incapable of fixing systemic issues.
Because they rely on the issues to survive.
Yeah, the video calls it an industrial grift complex. It relies on those problems existing to justify taking more tax dollars.
So if they actually solved the problem, they'd put themselves out of a job.
Exactly. So what's the ultimate proposed solution here? By letting the middle class keep their money, they spend it in their own communities.
Creating jobs and organic growth locally.
Right. It fosters dignity and self-sufficiency, which drastically reduces the need for sprawling welfare programs in the first place.
So what does this all mean? We really want you to weigh this perspective.
Yeah, it's a big question.
If the government fails to fix problems with $44,000 per student or $90,000 per homeless person, does the system just need more revenue? Or does it need a total teardown of its management style?
Let's briefly recap the journey we took today. We started with the 3% zero tax proposal for the working class.
Exposing that the bottom half of earners only account for a tiny fraction of revenue anyway.
Right. Then we dove into the stark math of wealth taxes, exploring how even seizing all billionaire wealth wouldn't fund the government for long.
And finally, we unpacked the massive competence gap, the severe difference between private sector problem solving and government bureaucracy.
I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. Think about the public systems you interact with every single day.
Like your local city council or the DMV.
Yeah. If a highly efficient private business took over the DMV tomorrow, what bloated processes do you think they would eliminate on day one using the 5 Ws?
I mean, probably quite a few.
Right. But on the flip side, we have to ask the counter question. What vital human elements might a purely corporate, profit-driven mindset fail to measure when dealing with society's most vulnerable?
Wow, that is a fantastic question to chew on. Is efficiency the only metric that matters?
Exactly. It's a complex balance.
As always, we want you to keep questioning the information around you. Don't be afraid to demand better from the systems that impact your life. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks for listening.
Next time you're waiting 6 weeks for a package with the wrong item in it, you'll know exactly what to blame. See you next time.